And it's Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Live and Unscripted, where we let inspiration be the guide. For those of you who are new here, you're with your host, Jennifer Saunders, and I'm part of the Righteous Rebels. If you're unfamiliar with what the Righteous Rebels is, you can head on over to Facebook. We have a group over there, and you can click join. You got to make the sound bing as you push the button, and that lets us know that you want in, and we'll let you in. We love the community that we have over there, and the shares and the personalities that have come in, and we just are really loving watching it grow. So this is your personal invitation to head on over, make the sound bing, and join the group. And we'll look forward to welcoming you when you do. So Live and Unscripted is really a program where usually I bring on guests. It started out with guests that I had no idea who they were. I may have had one short phone conversation with them. Felt like they had really neat things to offer, or that we would just have a fun conversation, and it has kind of morphed and molded since then. I still do that. But in those conversations, I ask one question, and then we really do let inspiration be the guide. And I love what comes from them. Many times I'm surprised, I'm taken back, I have no idea. And even people that I have known, I ask the question and we let things unfold. And then I learn things that sometimes I'm really floored about what I can learn in conversation with the person live with you. And that whether it's, we just don't think to ask the questions when we're together, or maybe it's just the spirit of what this is. And what you need to hear that inspires all of that to come out. So I don't know. Anyway, that's what we do here. However, we always start with a little bit of breathing. I'm like, do I have any housekeeping today? Yes, I do. If you're in the Idaho Falls area, Pocatello, Idaho Falls area, we are doing a summer solstice party, Fire by the River. We still have a couple spots. If that's something that interests you, you can go over to the Facebook group, bing, join it if you haven't already, and find one of the posts that has the link. Click the link. You'll receive an email for instructions and where to go, what to bring, all of the good stuff there. And we would love to have you. The only other thing that I'm aware of is, we're going to do Tuesday Adventure next week, where you can join us on Tuesday Adventure. Us and I totally just lost my thought. That's okay. We're going to go kayaking, and there are limited spots for that. There are five spots available. So if you're interested in that, give me a holler and I'll give you the details. And then just the August trip, we still have spaces in our surviving life and leadership river adventure, 6-day river adventure. We're going to start popping up a few pieces of an interview that we did with Carol from the Paisley Project. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to share a little bit about the Paisley Project in future posts and whatnot, because Carol and those guys are doing really amazing things for women who are finding themselves as widows. And I just loved what she had to share, and I can't wait to share that with you. So I think that's all the housekeeping that I have for now. So let's just go ahead and start. We always take just a minute to get present, where we can let our heart rates come back into coherence. We can let our minds settle down, because I know I get all excited and I'm talking fast, and I just need a moment to just step into this space right here, right now, where I can be really present with you. Where I can let go of anything that's happened in the day. I can let go of anything that I think is going to happen in the day, and just be right here. So today, let's just pause, and let's do 60 seconds. We're just going to breathe. Just breathe a little deeper than you normally would. And if you want to, you can breathe in something that you would like to experience as far as a feeling, whether that's peace, joy, calmness. Maybe you just want to feel excited. Breathe that in, breathe it all the way deep into your muscles, like push it out to your fingers, push it out to your toes. And then as you exhale, let go of any heavy or dense energy that you may be feeling or experiencing in your body, so that there's room to let in all the other yumminess. And today we're just going to breathe it. I'm just going to invite you to breathe it deeper than you normally would. Maybe take it out of your shoulders and your chest and breathe it more down into your, like, breathe it all the way down into your hips and your pelvis. So I'm going to invite you to do this with either closed eyes or downward gaze, whichever is most comfortable for you. And because we're not doing box breathing or anything, we'll just start together. So invitation to close your eyes or take that downward gaze and just breathing. Remember, you can breathe in something that you would like to experience by way of feeling, and then just to release any heavy or dense energy that's hanging on. Awesome. And give you just about 15 more seconds. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes and come back present here. You know what's funny is I don't very often think about that I actually am being watched by you do this practice. And today that popped into my mind. Breathing it out, breathing out any judgment that may come with that. Oh my heck, I'm really excited to be here with you today. So where I live, I can look out my bedroom window and there is a park. And before you get to the actual park, there's a parking lot and there's a ball diamond. And in the summertime, between May and the end of June, excuse me, sometimes the middle of July, every night there are like Pee Wee baseball games. And so there's always just a ton of people over there. And this summer, it's been interesting because at the beginning, as school was ending and the beginning of June, every night there were also the neighborhood kids out having lemonade stands. Now, that's not a new thing in my neighborhood. They usually just do it down the street a little bit at their houses. But this year they got smart and they pulled it right on over to the park where there's all kinds of people driving by in and out of the park and the parking lot. And I was watching them do their thing. And, you know, the reality is I love watching little kids have lemonade stands. And I love the creativity of how they do their signs and how they have their lemonade out and their cups out. And some down the road have like flavored lemonade and they have treats that you can buy along with it. And they stand out there with all of their courage and their bravery. And they say, hey, come and support me. Come and support me. And the reality is I can hardly resist watching a little kid stand out there and do that thing and be so brave. I have to pull over and pull out my 50 cents or usually $1 and give it to them and go over and support them. And I was talking with Leah about this. I was telling her about the lemonade stands that were going on across the street because I see them every day, and got thinking about like how much we are eager and willing to support the littles in our life, and somewhere along the way, how we become less supportive of the littles who grow up in our life and are running their own kinds of lemonade stands. I think we call that entrepreneurship. I'm like,
is this where I wander in with a cup and offer you some lemonade?
I have a lemonade stand here right in my front room, our office or whatever.
Oh, that's amazing.
Why the thing is feeling like, oh, thanks. I don't have 50 cents.
Oh, shoot. Well, I'll go grab that.
Oh, lemonade stand. Like, I love it. Like how often you go and support the little kids in your neighborhood, or the ones who aren't having. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Well, this is something new today. Usually when Leah and I get to do this, we are many, many miles away and a couple different times of, what is it, like 1,900 miles?
1,900 miles and 2 time zones.
Makes it tricky. It makes it
Sometimes.
tricky. So today, I want to present to you the other piece of the Righteous Rebels. Leah, spelt
Ligia.
Ligia. Coming to do live unscripted with me today, live, still unscripted, as you can tell. Here's your cue.
You don't.
I said to her, all right, let's just go fumble our way through this. She said, we're not fumbling, we're inspired.
Yes, let inspiration be your guide. That's the whole premise of live and unscripted. How is it?
That's actually pretty tasty.
There you go.
What is it?
It's lemonade and iced tea. I think you told me that.
I'm like, I made it. So when I was telling Leah about the cute little kids in the lemonade stand, we just got talking about how interesting it is that we're
so supportive of these littles and their bravery, like you were saying, to get out there and go put themselves out there and share what they have and to make some money to buy their bubble gum or bikes or whatever. Yet how that can shift as those little entrepreneurs get into adulthood. And I just think of all the people we see, like, I don't know if it's at markets or at fairs or people who have their tables and things that they've made, whether it's like, I was at one recently, there was like wallets with art on them. There was like knitted stuff. There's like necklaces and people are putting themselves out there and sharing things that they've made and things that they're doing and trying to connect with people. And it amazes me how many people walk on by. And I get there's a part where this isn't for me necessarily, but how often do we actually give it a real interest or to learn more? What was, I love asking people, what was the inspiration behind doing this, or how did you get that started? And just any venture that we get into, what keeps our motivation going when we feel like people are walking past our ideas and our heart. We put our heart and soul into these things. And
it kind of reminds me, as you're talking, I'm thinking back to when my youngest, who's soon to be 25, was like 14 maybe. I think she was in 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade, and she wanted a new bike. And so we went to a bike shop and we looked at the bikes, and of course the one she wanted was spendy. And I said, okay, well, I'm not opposed to that. How long do you think it would take you to earn that money? She looked at me and then she said, a month. I was like, oh, okay. Because at that point it was like the bike was like $500, $550. And I wasn't going to buy her, just give her that money. I'm happy to pitch in. And she said 30 days. I said, oh, okay, cool. Like, well, what do you think you can do in 30 days? And this is my kid who, went on tour to DC, and she bought a flock of flamingos, and we put them in people's yards as a way to raise, like, she just had a mind for that. And so I thought, I'm going to be really interested to see what she can come up with in 30 days and how much she actually is able to do. And so she started calling people, and she got a window washing job and a few other things with people in our neighborhood and people that she knew. And it was really fun to go and support her and learn how to wash windows and all of the things, because, she didn't drive. So of course I had to take her. And I remember on day 28, or the day she got her, she'd been keeping track. And she's like, mom, I got, here's my $500. Like, today's paycheck is, and I said, well, oh my gosh, like, that's amazing. How many days has it been? And she goes, I don't know. And she starts counting. 28 days. And it was really fun to watch her. And I watch her now, and I watch her still be excited. But even as an adult, like, some of that's it starts to wane a little bit. And why do you think that is?
I think we get self-conscious. We're not sure what's going to hit with people. And I just admire the people that just keep coming and don't, what's that quote? think it's an Edison quote. I don't know. I can't remember. But it's doing success is about doing things again and again without losing your enthusiasm. I botched that 100%.
How much would you like to do it again?
No, I don't remember it. But it's so true, and it's maintaining consistency and showing up, and even if it, I know Luba says this a lot, even
Hi,
if
Luba.
it's just, yes, hi Luba, even if it's just one person that you're going to make a difference for, just keep showing up for that one person. But it can be challenging because you're putting so much time and energy and money into these things, and sometimes you're not always seeing the results that you want, or you think you should be farther ahead, and it can be challenging.
I'm like, are you talking to me right now?
I'm talking to myself, Jen.
We were just having this conversation actually about giving yourself grace to grow in the process. I feel like we just totally jumped ahead. But to grow in the process, and why we start to lose some of that enthusiasm, and the judgment piece, I think, is a big part of it. And I know for myself and my own experience, you just start to feel, I start to feel a little bit hesitant, because it's like, oh, is someone going to like what when as a kid, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want to buy my Jawbreakers? Awesome. Sweet. And sold enough Jawbreakers to take myself and my grandma as a 9th grader, 8th grader to California.
But isn't that funny that you say that we have no problem selling those things to make money, yet we get into this headspace of like, oh, I don't want to be pushy. Oh, I don't want people to think that I'm doing this just for money. And we get all into all these stories in our head where we don't do that when we're kids.
Right. Well, and I think for me too, especially when it comes to things like coaching or the energy work that I do, and things that are more intellectual, or that are gifts. Like, how many times have you been told or heard somebody say, I don't know that I should charge for these things because it's a gift? But you still have to put time and money and energy into learning, and into you still have to invest in yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the lemonade stand, you gotta buy the cups, and you gotta have the table, and you gotta have the product that goes in it. And your mom and dad tell you, okay, I can spot you a loan and this is how much you could possibly make in the day, and this is how much you're gonna get to give back to me. And you're like, oh
yeah,
oh, but and you start learning those lessons. And
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking of Emily and her amazing bracelets.
Oh yeah, her bracelets.
Like, these are so cute. She started
she put my name on mine.
When she started making them, and it just reminded me of when my daughter used to make them, and how exciting that is. And it's just, it makes them like, I put in my order for them, and I told my daughter about it. She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to support that. And just, you could see her whole demeanor just shift. And then she's like asking questions like, how would that match with this? And she puts her design into it. And like, but then because she's getting some money for it, mom's like, okay, you need some more pieces, but this much is what it's going to cost you. Like, that's a real part of being an entrepreneur. It's not all profit, and learning those pieces at a young age. And I can't remember why that was a point. You got talking about something, it reminded me, and I'm like, oh, I think you were talking about that. Oh, investing in yourself, and that it costs, and that how sometimes it's hard to charge money for gifts. That's, I think, where the line was.
Yeah. And I know for me, that's been one of my things, and me thinking that I have to be the one that changes somebody, and remembering that it's not, I'm just sharing information, and it's not up to me. It made me think of my mind. I feel my mind feels kind of like a pinball machine right now. Like, there's so many different ways to talk about this. I think I'm going to go with the first thought that's just like pressing here. And that's the ways that we've been taught about how we should do things, maybe for myself anyway, has been part of the big learning curve when it comes to putting myself out there, when it comes to building and creating a business or a life that I love, or doing the things that I enjoy, and sharing them with other people in a way that there's an exchange. And that exchange, sometimes that exchange is a trade, and sometimes it's a trade of dollars versus product or service. And for me, part of that is how we've been taught what that looks like, and the comparison games, and you have to do it this way in order to do it correctly, or you got to do it this way in order to do it correctly, and you got to there's this thing over here if you want to, and everyone's always talking about, and if this is you, cool, like, and it's working for you, do that thing. What I'm saying is, if you're the one listening that you feel like you're pounding your head against the wall, and because it's not working, this is me telling you there are ways that it works. And I'm getting to learn, and I'm in the process of learning all of that right now, that those are just ways. Those are just ways of doing things, and they don't work for everybody, and they don't feel good for everybody. And I think that's been part of my entrepreneurial learning experience, is really, which is what the entire business of Righteous Rebels is built around, is coming home to yourself. It's learning how to support yourself while you're building and supporting your own lemonade stand, and encouraging others to do the same thing. It's learning how to listen to your own voice, how to take care of yourself, how to play again, how to bring out the creativity that is so just inborn in us, and to recognize that it doesn't have to be like the way everyone else does it or says you should do it. And that's been an interesting part of my journey. And I think one thing that I'm learning is, I think a reason why maybe some people are hesitant to support, because it's different than the norm, or the puzzle piece that someone's crammed in somewhere else. Or
when you're talking, I'm thinking of every system that's been created, or the method that you should be doing it, or what online business looks like. That's good. Was started by a lot of trial and error. And I think we forget that when we see people already finding success in following that system. But like you said, it's not going to work for everyone, because it's not always aligned. But remembering that came from someone just doing it in a way that felt right for them, that they were doing a lot of trial and error. They were testing things out. They were seeing, okay, like we say a lot, Jen, we're throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, what's working, what's resonating with people, and just trusting the process.
That trusting the process thing. It's funny. We've talked about this before. Leah has said to me, why don't you make your keynotes about trust? And I'm like, this is a look I give her, like, for reals, you want me to make
all the attitude
about trust? But the reality is, it's a whole lot about trust. And as you're talking about the processes and people, the next thought that just keeps pressing into my mind is this. It's when you see somebody at a farmer's market, or at a vendor's fair for the 4th of July or whatever, and you're walking in and out of the booths. I know I've done this. Like, I'm so guilty of this, of being like, oh, that's cool, but it's not for me. Oh, that's cool, but it's not for me. Can you imagine how different you would feel? And I'm talking you as in myself, and how that vendor may feel if you paused for just a second and you went to their booth and you actually looked at their stuff, even if it's not for you. They've taken time and energy and put heart and soul into what they're doing, because it's something that they love, and it's something that they want to put out into the world. And if you paused for a second and looked, and even asked a question or two, and then said, I might know somebody who would enjoy this. This really isn't my style, or it's not for me, but I might know somebody. Do you have a card? Do you have a way that I can connect people to you? And then genuinely do that. Share it out. That makes such a difference. Like, I will drink little kids' lemonade almost 100% of the time, but there are other things that
with that point though, Jen, I think if you pick a couple, because I'm thinking the kids' lemonade stand, that's a one and done in one big area. When you go into these marketplaces, I think sometimes it can be overwhelming, because there's so many things to do, and you just don't even want to make eye contact, because you don't want to be sold.
That's right? It. You don't want to be sold.
Yeah. But if you can take pick one or two that you can offer that support. That, like, people who are putting themselves out there just need the most minimal encouragement. It's just that little breadcrumb that keeps them going and keeps them firing and doesn't let the dream die. It's that whole thing of being seen and appreciated for it's because it's not easy to put yourself out there.
And there are the people out there, again, this is my opinion. All of this is my opinion. I'm just going to say that right now. This is how I feel about things. There are people out there who are there to sell you, to just get you to purchase their product, whatever. But there are people genuinely out there who are just really putting themselves out there to share their product or their service and the things that they have to bring, their magic, their creativity that they have to bring into the world. And I think that's part of the challenging piece. I don't want to be sold. I don't think you want to be sold. I don't think you want to be sold. But we all know when we're being sold. There's a whole psychology. And if you don't know this, there's a whole psychology in that world, which I do this against. Leah, as I was like,
let's turn down
Jen, would you like to tell me how you really feel? Because I don't want to sell you. I want you to have something that you genuinely could use in your world, because I know it's going to make a difference. And I know that when we fill ourselves up with the things that we really need versus the things that we're being sold on, life changes. Life changes. And so don't think everybody is selling you. Like, give people a chance. Ask the questions. Be curious. Be curious.
So it reminds me.
I know you're like, take your like around.
I'm just thinking, like, so I was chatting with a friend this morning, and she's talking about like these programs, and because you have things to share, and finding the ways to get yourself out there and get through the noise, and everyone's got a program. And she's like, I don't know how this happens. Like, I go into this thing, they pitch it to me, and I'm like, no, it's not for me. Then they follow up with me, and next thing I know, I'm writing a check for something that's not paying me any ROI. Like, there's just no return on investment in this. And I'm like, how did they do that? And why can't I do that in what I'm sharing? Right. Like, and I was part of her course, and one of the ladies there was talking about most businesses are trying to make, they're in it to make money, and, is working with heart. And like,
wait, you were talking to Luba?
I was talking to Luba. That came out.
Hi, Luba.
I'm sorry, Luba. But it was such a true thing, because
okay, pause. Can you just hear her be like, go ahead, you're like pitching me.
Luba has such a huge heart, and she wants to put her course and her knowledge, tons of experience.
If you're a woman in the tech business,
yes,
and you want to know about agility, and Luba's your gal, we can help you. Get a hold of her. Luba, you can pay us later.
It's just, yeah. But she was talking about that, and I know in my own world, like, I've had to really put a boundary around, I don't need more coaching. I don't need more programs. I want to just move through this and find the ways that work.
You got to get past this fear of comparison, of judgment, that you're doing it the right way or the wrong way, that you can do it at all, and that you know enough or that you don't know enough, and you got to just start putting yourself out there. And that's what these people are doing, is they're just putting themselves out there. And we've been so conditioned on being sold that we're a little jaded, actually.
Well, and I think of, in our experience with the river trip and with what we're doing in Righteous Rebels, it's like, people give us some of their input as far as our branding, and I'm like, well, that you're not really the person that we're speaking to, so of course our branding is not going to speak to you, because then we get comments in other places that, oh my god, I love what you're doing. Right. And then it's that's what's your pain points, and it's just difficult to move from that place. But you get really in your head and insecure, because these are successful people and they know what they're doing, but I just don't feel like it's resonating with what we're building.
To all the people out there who share your knowledge and your experience with us, one, we really appreciate it. We're not knocking that,
No.
or anyone who may share in the future. It's just a matter of really learning to listen to your own voice,
Yes.
and to support yourself in your own voice, and then to trust that enough to know that there are others out there who may be doing it in a similar way, and on a path and a journey that you're on, who can give you feedback that feels more authentic to what you're doing, or that rings more true to your heart and what it is you're building and wanting to create. We're joking about this because, one, we kind of got to joke about this because sometimes that stuff stings.
Yeah.
And it knocks those pieces in you that still maybe aren't completely healed, and or the little kid piece that's like, yeah, but now I can't do it the right way, or now I can't do it at all. And
then you start questioning everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get all this different advice, but it's people, and like you said, it's not knocking, it's realizing that that's working for you, and that's amazing.
It's
and
beautiful.
It
Like,
is.
we're in awe.
Yeah,
I'm in awe,
absolutely.
which is why I want to talk to them.
Yeah, of course. And we have picked up tidbits along the way, but nothing in at this point has resonated that we're like, yeah, that's what we found. Was we were trying to take too many different paths and losing our voice in what we're building here. And that's the point I'm getting at. It's not a knocking, it's like you said, listening to what's authentic for what we're doing and how we want to move through this and how we want to share it with all of you.
Which goes back to the, we want supporting your lemonade stand, and that lemonade stand being you, and teaching you how to come back and listen to yourself. It's challenging. It can be so challenging to stand out there and at the same time say, I've come home to myself, but I often leave because I'm human. I wear the skin, and that remembering to come back. It's so easy to want to go out and say, but I need an answer, and I gotta go over here, and then I'm tempted to go over here, and then I'm tempted to go over here. And the reality is, I know the best place to get the answer is right here, and to be my own support. And that's what we're wanting to teach you. And it's not that we're giving you the plan or the way, it's we're giving you some different options and some possibilities that you can try on and go, damn, that worked really well. I totally just said damn twice now. Or that one, I'm just gonna hang in the closet for a little bit because it doesn't fit.
Not yet, but it doesn't mean it can't fit later.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful part, is that you start collecting this collage of all this wisdom and all these ideas, and start rebelifying it.
We rebelify it.
Rebelify it.
It's so funny. I as a younger person I tell people I was very much into the religion that I grew up in. I loved it. I lived it. I shared it. I was what we call halo wearing, straight arrow through and through. That was me. And I didn't dare be a rebel, but somewhere inside of me, like, I had this little piece that was like, and the older I got, the more I start to recognize, like, I would what's the word? Like, I made up my own rule. Like, I had the set of rules and guidelines inside of the religion and what I was being taught, and the rules inside my family. And oh man, I was so good at, I had to make up my own. But it was everyone else telling me what to do and following what everyone else said was right and wrong. Or I did a TED Talk on this where I talk about knowing inside the circle, like, what it took for me to get love and attention and belonging and acceptance. And but somewhere inside there was this thing that was like, no, there's more. And little by little, that rebel voice started to speak louder.
I'm like, dude,
and louder, and start like the 2-year-old mom, Jen. And
pay attention to me.
Right? I had to start listening and giving that support to myself and the lemonade stands that I was building inside of myself. And so I love that. It's been an interesting journey. like any journey that we go on, to be able to be in this place where now I just rebelify things for everyone. You know what? Sometimes it's still scary. Sometimes I still get concerned about other people's judgments or comparison. I still want to compare. I still want to find answers out there in moments.
What?
I know.
Gray dots.
Gray dots.
Stars.
You're going to change it. Wow.
That's judgment.
It is judgment. Talk about it.
Okay, so the other night, we mentioned it briefly in Tuesday Adventure.
Yeah, this really does fit.
Yes.
In lemonade stand and support.
Yes.
Yeah, it totally it does.
Because it's not, it's all about judgment and what stickers. Okay, so let me start again.
Max Lucado is the author of You Are Special, which is what she's talking about.
Yes. So it's this beautifully made, it's a children's book, and what are they called?
Wemmicks.
So there's this whole city of Wemmicks that they're these little wooden characters that are made by their maker, and and they have like little gray dots and they have stars. And if you are, a beautiful Wemmicks, no, they're not called Wemmicks. Yes, yeah. Wemmicks. So if you're like beautiful, or you have a talent, or you're extra shiny, you get a star. If you can jump the highest, you get these stars from all the other Wemmicks, like all this praise, right? And if you don't, there's this one Punchinello. Yeah. Punchinello. Oh my gosh, I cried because literally because Punchinello kept getting all these gray dots. And I think I'm just going to read
the gray dots.
The gray dots are if you don't measure up, if you're not shiny enough, if you didn't jump high enough, if you're just not enough.
Or if you just have a lot of gray dots, you get more gray dots.
Yeah.
Same with stars.
Yeah.
Sometimes people give them to you just because you got a whole bunch and they're like, oh, I should just jump on board. I should support you.
Right. And it's that whole thing of when you're putting yourself out there, are you going to allow people to put their gray dots and their stars? Because I think also if you get enough stars and then all of a sudden you don't get a star where you think you should have, or you got one last time and that doesn't happen, that can make you feel really crappy and not want to show up again. And the whole thing with having your lemonade stand is you got to show up. And it can be challenging when you're worried about stars and gray dots. And what I love about this story is that you don't need to allow those dots and stars, which is so important. Like, what are you doing specifically to try and get stars? Are you behaving in a way that's authentic to you, or are you just doing it so you can get the star, so you don't get a gray dot? And it's challenging.
Right, so you don't get a gray dot.
Yeah.
So what's your point with all of that?
Are we going to allow ourselves, when we're with our lemonade stands out there, putting ourselves out there, or are we going to let it stop us from putting ourselves out there?
Stop me from drinking it.
Gray dots and stars.
I actually really love that you brought that piece up, because I think about how many times I have been in a place of judgment of someone else's business or the things that they're doing, because I'm human. I wear skin just like you do. And that blasted stuff, as amazing as it is, can cause us to just do dumb things sometimes. And, for I look back on those moments, I think, man, what were you thinking, or what were you doing? It's usually because I'm in judgment of myself. And so I'm not able to see clearly what someone else is doing, or that they're putting themselves out there. And I think that's one of the biggest times I have found myself in judgment. And I'm asking you to check in with yourself. Like, when you're judging someone, like, how are you reacting to yourself? Like, the biggest thing for me is like when, say, someone's putting themselves out there and they're doing speaking, or they're performing, or they're doing the thing that I want to be doing, only I'm not doing it for whatever the reason. I have found myself in that place of like, they're just out there, all the things that we do, and then have to check in and be like, why am I being and acting in this way? Because they're doing the thing. They're out there doing the thing. I should be celebrating them for reminding me to do the damn thing. I said it again.
Number 3.
That's how I feel, though. And And when we're doing it for ourselves and we're taking care of ourselves and we're supporting ourselves that way, we're happier, we're healthier, we're less judgmental. Perfectionism can come in, which can be an issue. And I know that sometimes I still get to have a battle with that, but I at least know what it is and I can check in. And so I'm inviting you to check in. You know, why are you, let's just call it what it is. Why are you judging that person and the thing that they're doing? Because they're at least doing it. And even though they might not be in little kid bodies with cute little kid voices and doughy little kid eyes, they still have the heart of a little kid, and they're still dreaming, and they still envision the bicycle that they want to buy, or maybe it's the new house, or maybe they're just wanting to put their kid through college, or to just put themselves in a little better situation. And why do we not help them or assist them? Why do we stand in judgment? And usually it's because we're in judgment of ourselves.
And especially in the day of social media, you don't necessarily even have to buy the thing. It's just sharing. And it's not even people say it's a reflection of me, and maybe, and there's all that attachment, but really it's just saying that you support someone in what they're doing.
Even if you're just saying, I support the fact that you're courageous enough to stand on the corner and hold your lemonade stand, because I'm not.
Well, and I love that you just brought up the word courage, because as we're talking about this, part of Rebel,
that's funny.
Part of Rebel is about being brave and showing up. And Jen has beautiful intellectual decoration in her house. So there's lots of books.
Means I have books everywhere.
Yes. And it's really cool, because it's like it's like a treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to find and what little tidbits of knowledge. And I found this one. It's called Finding Courage. Oh, by Mark Nepo.
I love Mark Nepo. Mark, maybe one of these days we can meet Mark.
That would be amazing.
Mark, if you hear this.
But I love this one. I opened it and it says the word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which literally means heart. The original use of the word courage means to stand by one's core. This is a striking concept that reinforces the belief found in almost all traditions that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer. And I just love that, because that's so much what it takes to put yourself out there. It's making art, and sharing that, and how scary that is, and that, is it good enough? Are you gonna like it? Does it speak to you?
And time out, does art have to be painting?
No, not at all.
What's art?
Whatever sets your soul on fire is what I like to say. Whatever speaks to you. For some people it's cooking, for some people it's having amazing conversations, or writing, or speaking, doing live and unscripted, decorating.
Yeah, not my strong point.
Yes.
I love that you just brought up art, because, and the reason I asked that is because, like, in my mind still wants to go to art being, drawing, like the amazing things that Leah creates, that I'm like, mine looks like a 5-year-old, but guess what? It looks like a 5-year-old, which means I'm doing it. Even if I have to have this battle between my head and my heart almost every freaking time I do it, but I'm doing it, and you're doing it. And if you're not, this is your invitation to get out there and do it. Do the thing. And if you want support in it and you feel like you don't have it, come join us at the Righteous Rebels over on Facebook group.
I think part of that, though, is patience. Not patience, giving yourself grace. It's giving yourself grace, whether it's a lemonade stand, whether it's you want to learn the skill of watercolor, or you want to start a class. Like, it's giving yourself the grace that it doesn't look like someone who's been doing it for 10 years. And where you are in your business isn't where someone else is in their business. They had to start somewhere. We all start somewhere, and it's trusting that process and allowing that inspiration to come through, instead of trying to force it and figure it all out. And just
I was good at that. I was so good at that.
Allowing.
Yeah. That part I wasn't so good at. But you know what? I'm getting really a lot better at it. A couple of years ago, I figured out that I needed to stop trying to figure things out and just allow things to happen. And holy cow, it's been a ride. It's been a ride. It's really a ride right now. But there's a lot of beautiful things in that ride. Um, some things have to fall apart and some things have to go away. And that doesn't always feel so good. But in wanting the new, you have to continue putting yourself out there. We read that this morning.
I think it was on a post.
Where's my phone? It talked about that, just about how if you want the new, like old things have to die off. They have to go away. We have to be willing to open our hands and let go. And I had a whole thought process, but now I got caught up in where's my phone so I could read that to you. I just get caught up in what art looks like. And the reality is, and this is one of the things that I love about what Leah brings to the Rebels and to you and to my world, is that art's anything. Like I think yesterday when we were hiking, she's like, you just take all the messy stuff and you make it kind of not messy. You just play around in it and see what happens. And then it's like, art.
That's what it feels like. It really does.
I'm like, I don't know that feeling, but I do know that feeling just in different ways, like with putting together adventures or taking people on Tuesday adventures or, oh my gosh, speaking. But yeah, the TEDx, and just our art is different. Your art may be different. And this is just an invitation to create your art, create your lemonade stand, keep creating it, and then supporting other people's lemonade stands.
And support yourself.
First and
Celebrate
foremost.
you for showing up, and remember why you started. Remember that enthusiasm, and remember why it meant so much so that you wanted to put yourself out there. And again, because it's not easy, but if you continue to do it and you keep showing up, I mean, that's what I talk a lot about too, is inspiration has to find you working. It has to find you in the act. You're not going to meet that customer that gets what you're doing and wants to support you if you're not out there doing the thing. No one's going to come to your door and knock and say, hey, do you want to go do this? Or I'm going to buy all your stuff. You have to put yourself out there. And it's even with painting. Like sometimes I don't know what to paint or I don't know what to write. But if I show up, even if it's with a timer, because sometimes I feel like a toddler that way, like I just don't want to do it. Yet I know if I put myself there to do it. Yeah, right? That's what I mean. I want to have a tantrum because I'm like, oh, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to paint. Blah, 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 blah. But if you just show up, blah, blah, blah. If you show up and just do the thing, it will start to flow. It's just getting some of that gunk out of the way to allow things to come through you. And I always think of, what's her name? Elizabeth Gilbert and Big Magic. And just how those things can speak to us if we show up and do the work.
You're talking about inspiration. It's the same thing with motivation. People are like, oh, I just can't get up the motivation. I'm like, okay, you gotta be moving. Motivation comes in movement. Like it's the motivation maybe first to get out of bed, but what's that thing? Oh, because the motivation usually is like, I have a full bladder. Like that's motivation to get out of bed, or I can't stand what I'm tasting in my mouth because I have night breath, right? That's motivation to get out of bed. Let's be real.
Totally real. That's true.
And then you're up and you're like, oh, I just don't have energy. And motivation is like moving yourself. If you're a coffee drinker, I like hot drinks, and going down, and motivation to like get a nice cup of tea or something in my hand. I like cinnamate. And that's motivation. And motivation comes from movement, just like inspiration. And it took me back to the interview I did last week with Brandon Gosselin. He talked about, I'm like, am I going to be able to read this? Partly because I chicken scratched it, and two, I don't have any glasses on. He talks about
5 to 7 days.
So he talks about motivation is like, it's like moments. It comes in moments, and inspiration lasts longer. usually like 5 to 7 days. And then he talks about aspiration, and that's in our DNA. It's something that I'm totally slaughtering this. You're going to have to go listen to Brandon's interview that's posted on the Righteous Rebels page on Facebook. Bing, hit the button. You can find it. You can also find it at therighteousrebels.com
/live and unscripted
/live and unscripted. That's not my strong point.
There's a little tab if you go to the website. It says live and unscripted.
And we'll put it in this link so that you can have it as well. But just remembering, like, action. You just got to take some action.
But what about when it feels like there's so many actions to take and you don't know which
take one? Just take one, Leah. Choose one.
Just choose one.
Choose the one that like feels best in that moment. And if several, then flip a darn coin, or pull it out of a hat, or just choose one action. And here's the thing. This is, as I can hear you saying, well, yeah, how do I know what one? Ouch. Choose the one that pops into. I totally just hit my hand on the desk because I'm so excited now. Choose the one that comes to your mind first and trust that that's a right action. It's a right action because it's movement. And you may get down the road and be like, this doesn't feel like the right action. And don't judge that, but maybe choose a different action to start moving and experimenting with. Action, it's all steps forward.
So that made me think of what's your final destination. And I think of different places that can be a challenge to see what you want the end to look like. But then I think of things like a race. You want to finish this race. Sometimes there's a certain time, there's whatever, but or if you're selling something, I want to sell so many of this. But then I think of what you talk about in these ultra marathons that you've done. You can't put yourself all the way at the end. You just need to take the next step. And sometimes that's just enough to get you to the next step. Instead of being overwhelmed with all the steps that you need to take to get to your goal or your intention.
Which is another really beautiful part of support. In those races, I have a crew. I have people who are waiting for me at aid stations, or in certain races, they're just along the course in however many mile increments. But I have a crew. I have people there to support. And that brings us full circle to support people's lemonade stands, support people in what they're doing. It's hard enough to just put yourself out there and to think that nobody is out there.
No one cares.
That no one cares. Yeah, no one's going to show up for somebody. Even if you're just asking a question and sharing their stuff out. Support. Be somebody's. You may have an idea, but you may not have an idea how important your action and your support in that day might just be the thing that keeps them going. Like that little shred of we're just going to
seen hope.
Yeah. Is the thing that is going to keep them out the next day in their lemonade stand, instead of like closing up shop altogether and giving up hope and maybe even their dreams. I don't know. That feels pretty like, but sometimes that's how it is.
Yeah.
Leah's flipping her hand over at like she has something to say.
No,
she's thinking. She thinks with her hands.
Yes, definitely.
Anyway, we're gonna call this one a wrap. That was a lot of really amazing random thoughts.
They were random. It all worked around lemonade stands and putting yourself out there.
I was just gonna say, it's what I love about Live and Unscripted is you just for me, it's that learning to go with the flow, to let go and to just trust a process, and to trust that the words are going to be there when you need them. The thoughts are going to be there when you need them, and that somebody's going to be there when you need them. And most of all, to be there for yourself, always.
And what do you think of you? That was the point with Punchinello and the dots and everything is bring it back to, why are you doing things, and why, what do you believe in yourself?
That makes me think of a thought that I thought of a few minutes ago. We're not going to wrap this up just yet, but we're close. It's this Rick, what's his name? That does the
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin. He talks about creating things because you want to create them, to create them from your heart, instead of always trying to create things for somebody else, because it's always going to be changing. You're always going to have mixed opinions and thoughts, and you'll always be in that state of confusion. But if you're creating, coming back home to you, supporting yourself, all the things that you just said, there will always be somebody. There will always be somebody who's going to resonate with what you have to offer. You just got to keep creating for you and knowing that somebody, but you got to put yourself out there in order for someone to find it. So
keep showing up.
Keep showing up. With that, we're going to go build a lemonade stand tonight.
Yes, at the river fire.
Yeah,
river.
summer solstice, longest day of the year. Woo, woo.
Yes.
And happy birthday to my friend Janine. I haven't texted you yet. You'll probably never see this, but happy birthday to you. Everyone else will see it. I'm so excited. We're going to keep building. We got a space for you. So head on over to the Righteous Rebels on Facebook, the group. And then you can check out, again, the river trip and other things that we're creating, the live and unscripted over on the righteousrebels.com. And yeah, that's a wrap.
So,
you got more tea?
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm going to go have myself some more tea. And we'll see you next time around on Live and Unscripted. I think next week it is Leah and I again, and then we are bringing on Megan Enriquez.
Yeah.
And Enriquez. I know her as Megan McDonald Enriquez. Megan's somebody I've known for a long time, since I was like probably 15. And I'm excited to share her out with you and what magic she's bringing to the world. Mm-hmm. So with that, be bold, be brave, be a rebel. We'll see you soon.
Stop.